Thank you for joining us today. I'm Katie, and I'm a part of the product marketing team here at Okendo. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be diving into um, how Terra Cafe is turning referrals into revenue. And I'm joined by Faitak of Terra Cafe, and I will go ahead and pass it over to her for a quick intro.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lou. I am the community marketing manager at Terra Cafe, or TK, as we fondly call it. I've been with them for about a year and a half. And the story goes that our founder, Sahand, couldn't find a machine that checked all the boxes. So everything out there was like either a wasteful pod machine or a clunky, overpriced automatic that hadn't been updated in years. So in 2018, he pulled together a team of people obsessed with coffee and set out to build something better. So that led to the TK1, our first super automatic espresso machine. If you're not familiar, that means it does everything for you. It grinds beans, tamps the shot, dispenses the espresso, froths the milk. And then we took everything we learned from the TK1 and leveled it up with the TK2, which was released at the end of 2023.
That's amazing. You're making me want coffee right now, honestly.
Me too.
Um, All right, so let's start with a look ahead. Every year, a brand enters with big goals. So we're about halfway through now. But I'd love to know what's on the horizon for Terra Cafe and like what are your biggest goals of this year and where does customer marketing fit into that?
Yeah. So our biggest goal for 2025 is making great espresso even more accessible. Um, wow, say that four times fast. Not just in terms of price, but also how people discover and connect with Terra Cafe. So we want people to feel like, oh yeah, I actually can make really great coffee at home to the point where they miss their TK when they're away from home, myself included. We always get a lot of comments about people missing their specific drinks when they're on vacation. So we don't want them to open up the box and then feel lost or feel abandoned by us. So we understand there's a learning curve with espresso, especially if you're coming from a pod machine or even a traditional coffee maker. So we want to make it really easy, very accessible. So we're focusing a lot on what happens next in the journey. So things like helping new customers feel confident using the machine, showing them tips they'll actually use, and then showing them value as they continue to use the machine. You know, how much money are they saving? How much plastic from a landfill are they saving? We have stats, we have a leaderboard, launching a loyalty program with Okendo to reward them for taking care of their machine. So the big goal for us is focusing on the full journey of the TK2.
Amazing. I mean, as you kind of mentioned, Terra Cafe is clearly a premium product. So when customers make that type of investment, trust is really, really important. How do you approach earning that trust from your customers early on and then also kind of driving that long-term loyalty? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, trust is everything, especially when someone's investing in such a high AOV product like ours. Our approach is pretty simple. You know, we listen, we improve, and then we keep the conversation going. Um, it's really important for us that our community gets to see how customer voice and improvements happen in real time. So, like for example, we just rolled out a new system that like lets customers vote on what they'd like to see next. And so that input actually shapes our roadmap. I can say that emphatically as I've now worked across several teams at TK over my tenure. Every single team is involved in hearing feedback and having it shape their work. We also release regular firmware updates and app updates, which is something I don't think that people really expect from a countertop appliance. TK2 is the only super auto that was built alongside an app wasn't just added as an afterthought. So that means the TK2 keeps getting better. And I think that that ongoing care really builds trust over time. And it treats people like part of the process and, as collaborators. And we've seen that that really helps us build long-term loyalty. If someone feels heard and sees that their voice matters, then they're becoming advocates for us.
Yeah. So you're building really strong word of mouth, which can be super powerful. And like when high consideration is part of your product. Um, so you guys have also launched a referral program with us, and it's been a
Mhm.
real driver of growth. I would love to hear a little bit more about your referral program.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been a really strong growth driver for us. Like you said, we are a highly considered purchase, and we also have a long deliberation period for most buyers. So word of mouth hits so much harder for something in those categories. We've also found that coffee is like a deeply personal thing. It's a part of people's lives, how they start their day, how they connect with people. So we find that customers, when they're talking about it, they're not just recommending the product, but they're recommending something that is crucial to their lifestyle, and that's pretty powerful, as we know. And people trust people more than they trust brands. And so when a customer tells someone in their circle, like, this is the machine I use every single day, and I would cry without it, that carries more weight than any campaign that we could ever create.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Um, so when it comes to promoting your referral program, are there
Yeah.
any tactics or channels that have worked better for you?
Um, we honestly don't blast the referral program out everywhere. It's mostly surfaced in our post-purchase email flows and on our site, but that's kind of intentional on our part. We see referrals as like an extension of trust. And but even with that limited promotion, it's just been highly, highly effective for us. I found that the key really has been timing. So serving it up when the experience is still fresh and the recommendation still feels natural to everyone involved, like that has really, proven successful for us.
Yeah. I mean, you've definitely seen some pretty impressive numbers come out of this program.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk a little bit about the impact. Would you mind sharing some of the results that you guys have seen?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to share them. We've been really excited about the performance of our referral program so far. We switched over to Okendo. I believe it was this year, and we've already, or maybe later last year, can't talk. But since then, we've seen a 215 times return on investment ROI, which has just been a huge validation of the channel. We're also seeing 8.6% referral conversion rate. So that tells us like not only are people excited to share Terra Kaffe, but their friends are actually eager to join in too, and usually quickly. And so we actually just bumped up our referral reward for both sides. So I'm really excited to see how it shakes out. It was give 100, get 50, and we're going to be changing it to 100 for both sides.
Oh, that is amazing. Um, I guess I'm curious if that was like related to customer feedback. So it's obviously a super valuable tool for any brand. Do you use like how do you use reviews, for example, to drive your product on-site experience, kind of like you mentioned with the referral bump up?
Yeah, I mean, for the referral bump up specifically, it was with the launch of the loyalty program. We really wanted to not only get people to join the loyalty program, but also like really see the value that we're giving here for these high consideration products. So that was a big thing, and like who doesn't love um, more more credit. And so it wasn't directly any feedback, but just kind of just we wanted to give back to our community even more, which is just how we operate at Terra Cafe. Yeah, customer feedback, we pull insights from reviews and like survey support tickets, like all the usual suspects. But the most meaningful stuff, honestly, has come from our insiders program, which is it's a smaller application based group of super engaged customers who actually want to make the product better. They want to be collaborators. So we had over 500 people apply on the first day, which just blew us away. We like to say that we had a lower acceptance rate than Harvard, but they get access to firmware updates at the same time our internal team does, and so they've helped us squash bugs before anything hits wide release, and or even just like give us feedback on like how they feel about the UX or how they feel using the app or using the machine with it, and that kind of feedback is gold to us because you're always going to get more thoughtful, actionable like input from someone who's invested in you and your product than someone who's maybe just using the opportunity to like vent in a survey or vent in a review, which sometimes happens. So this has been, yeah, absolute gold for us. And it's also easy as a company to get stuck in the weeds or think that you see everything. I think especially in like a firmware hardware category like we are. So having that kind of community has been huge. It's not just for product updates, but also for shaping how we talk to future customers and how we're like presenting things in all comms, including on site as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, in a crowded market, customers are looking for more than just a great product. They want to connect with the brand. So, you know, I know you mentioned the insider program, but beyond that, how do you make Terra Cafe feel like more than just a product and a brand that people really connect with?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're going up against legacy brands that sometimes, frankly, can, afford to phone it in, especially when it comes to like design, experience, or community. So a lot of those machines look like they were built in like 1999 and haven't changed since, which like no diss to 99. It was a great year of my childhood, but they rely on decades of brand recognition and not necessarily innovation. And so Terra Cafe has to work harder in that way. We're all weirdos who like it that way, though. Like we obsess over design, over how the machine feels to live with, not just how it brews. We're shipping firmware updates, we're involving our community in feature development, we're answering DMs, that's not just customer support to us, that's brand building. And so yeah, also at the end of the day, we're not trying to be everything to everyone. We're building something modern and considered and connected, and our customers seem to really recognize that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like you're building a community, which is, I think, fantastic in this kind of, environment with the way B2B is going. Um, we've also all seen like this year, last few years, how quickly expectations from customers can change. Um, what is one shift in customer behavior that you think will change how brands are building moving forward?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even myself as a customer too, I think my mind shift has really been shifting. There we go. I think there's been a big shift to ongoing value thinking. So people are thinking long term about their products, especially for high AOV. So it's not just what something costs now, but what that means over time. What's the waste involved? How does it affect the environment? Will it last? How do I maintain it? Does it improve? People are asking these tough questions of brands, and that's why we've leaned so hard into the updates and direct feedback loops because we want to be the opposite of planned obsolescence. We want to give them a truly great product that will continue to evolve and will last. So I think that's been a big shift over the last few years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like me personally, I definitely have a lot of consideration in terms of um, buying a product. So it's great to know that brands like yours are really, really thinking deep into that. Um, I kind of want to start to open up the panel for questions, but
Mm.
one last question from me.
Yeah.
If you could give one piece of advice to a brand who's just starting to invest in customer marketing, what
Mm.
would that be?
Um, Gosh, that's a great question. I think that I think build with your customers as much as possible. Lean into building in the public eye. Don't be scared to do it because some of the most valuable feedback we've gotten at Terra Cafe has come from opening ourselves up to that process. And I think that taking perfection out of the equation can be really powerful. So I would say that. Don't be scared.
That's good advice. I feel like that can be applied to so many different aspects too.
Me too.
Okay, let's open up for questions. If anyone has questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But one here that we have is, what is your favorite way to surprise and delight your customers?
Ooh, I love a good surprise and delight. I like to take things a step further than a customer may even expect from the initial like question or issue. Um, so like for example, someone in our insiders group recently asked about our name and our logo, and so it was just a one-off question. Um, but I took it to our CEO and I said, "Can I get a 2-minute video explaining the origins?" And the thought process. And then I posted it, which really delighted everyone in the group. They all loved it. But now we're going to be able to reuse it for other content to speak to our wider community. So just thinking about how those little curiosities of your community can be used for more impactful connections across channels, I think is the way that I really like to surprise and delight versus kind of like more traditional things. So I love sending bags of coffee to people. I know I didn't just say that, but
I mean, we love coffee at any time of day, you know?
yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so what is one thing you wish more brands would do when it comes to building customer relationships?
Ooh, okay. And like it may be a hot take, it may not be a hot take anymore based on the environment, but I think spend their money on customers or processes that support their customers rather than influencers. It's really easy to chase that reach, but we all know that the real magic happens with brands when you are reinvesting and investing in the people who already love what you're building. So I would just say like really honing in on your current community and helping that flourish. I know that we all have to do like, paid media and seeding and all of that. And I'm not saying cut that out, but I think just maybe do it a bit more intentionally. And may almost like start grassroots again, because I think we have moved so big and so broad that like I would just love to see more brands bring it back, bring it smaller.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll see more of that kind of organic relationship building from brands as time goes on. Obviously, you guys are doing it and it's working for you. So I wish you a success in that. Um, okay, so I don't see any more questions coming in from the chat. So we can go ahead and wrap up. Lou, thank you so much for joining today.